Welcome to Quantumly Kinky with Veda, where we talk about sex, Chinese medicine, and character development for the multidimensional you. Episode 4, Time, an Erotic Recalibration. Welcome back, delicious souls, to another episode of Quantumly Kinky, where we explore the sacred, the sensual, and the multidimensional playground of turned on living. I am your host, Sarah Veda, and today we're deepening our contract, not just with ourselves, but with the most elusive lover of all, time. We are going to touch on some keys to recalibrating time erotically and what that requires, and also journey into the difference between kairos, or sacred time, and chronos, linear time, and how we can use time instead of being used by it. In the first few episodes of Quantumly Kinky, we've been crafting and committing to our BDSM contracts with our higher selves, being the best subs we can be, surrendered and in service. We've also been repeating daily our two core questions that remain our anchors. How may I serve, and what is your will for me? But what happens when our two questions are directed not just at the divine galactic, and not just at life, but at time itself? Before we can seduce time, we must understand how we dance with it now. Today we're going to peel back some layers on the construct of time, and not just as a linear ticking clock on the wall, but as an erotic, elastic force that bends and stretches. Well, at least when we know how to touch it just right. So first, let's get present. I want you to take a long, slow, deep breath with me. So, what is time to you? Have you ever pondered this? What time feels like in your body? Are you chasing time, or is it chasing you? How often do you let time dominate you? Or do you submit to its flow? When was the last time disappeared for you? Our current collective concept of time is ruled by clocks and certain calendars. It's a construct of technological precision, ticking away in sync with machines rather than the rhythms of our bodies or the cosmos. Think about it. Your phone, your computer, your iPad, your Apple Watch, all technologically synced in perfect union. But before mechanical clocks were widespread, sundials were used to track time, and this was based on the sun's position. People also relied on natural cues like sunrise, sunset, and the movement of celestial bodies. So, to step into our multidimensional portal of erotic existence, we must understand the difference in feeling when our human is synced to this mechanical time, or when we are synced to natural sundial time. Time as our art. Time that feels alive. Time that is erotic and deeply attuned to our organic flow and its creative expression. Because time is not just a resource. Time is an experience. Time is an energetic lover, and like any lover, it requires presence. So take that deep breath. It requires attention, and time even gets wet when approached with playfulness. So understanding our relationship with time is the key here. It's the first step to erotically recalibrating it. It's the first step to seducing it. And seduction, well, she requires awareness, curiosity, and just the right amount of playful tease. But why do we care about seducing time anyway? How is recalibrating our construct of time going to help us live more of our turned on lives, like the first 3 practices we've discussed so far? Well, the answer lies in how time uses us versus how we use time. So let's break that down. The difference is in the frequency and the different frequency variations of time that exist, because they are actually what allow us access to certain realities or not. Think about it like this, like a radio station. If you're tuned into the frequency of 98.7, you can't access the song playing on 101.2, can you? One major difference in frequency variations of time has to do with the difference between being used by time, stress, scarcity mindset, endless to-do lists, dopamine addictions, or using time, like presence, intentionality, savoring the moment, creation. Really what I'm talking about here is time scarcity versus time abundance. So here's a sexy metaphor for you. If time were a dominant lover, are you the submissive, running scared, always trying to keep up, frantic? Or are you the confident submissive, trusting the lead, surrendering fully, knowing the experience will unfold exactly as it should? Let's stop racing against time and instead let's invite it to the table, pour it a glass of cab, and ask, how may I serve you and what is your will for me, time? Okay, so now let's make our time recalibration erotic, Veda style. So let's take a deep breath together. And I want you to entertain these 2 time perspectives for the moment being. The first one, my time stretches in pleasure and contracts in fear. Number 2, my presence is the most erotic way to recalibrate time. So with that last one, presence being the most erotic way to recalibrate time, well, that really just means take more slow, long, deep breaths throughout our days. And every time that we pause and we take those slow, deep breaths, I want you to know that in that moment you are affirming time abundance for yourself. You are stretching into more pleasure and you are opening up more timelines for self. So keep it simple with me. Recalibration, healing, expanding, all of it always goes back to shifting our perspective, because certain perspectives serve as the key to unlock certain experiences. And together on Quantumly Kinky, we are focused on the perspectives that unlock more turn on, more multidimensionally erotic existence, and of course a balanced mind, body, spirit too. Okay, so now that we know the key to our erotic recalibration of time is to take more slow, deep, long breaths, aka being present, we can also start to play with the differences in types of time. There's Kairos, which we're going to call sacred time, and then there's Chronos, which is clock time. To seduce time, we must first understand its multidimensional nature. Time is not just one rigid construct. It can wear many faces, but we're going to talk about these two faces in particular, Chronos and Kairos. So Chronos, or clock time, that's linear. It's measurable, it's predictable, it's the ticking clock on the wall, the planner, the deadlines. And then we have Kairos, sacred time. And Kairos is fluid, transcendent, infinite, the moment where everything aligns perfectly. It's that breathless pause in an orgasm. It's that stillness before a breakthrough. If Chronos is the strict dom with a stopwatch keeping you accountable to every second, Kairos is the lover who melts time altogether, pulling you into an endless moment where nothing else exists but the now. Chronos is like the container for creation. Chronos provides structure, and without it, we would just drift aimlessly. But when we over-identify with Chronos, time becomes rigid, suffocating, and it's like a fucking cage rather than a container. So Chronos is not the enemy. It's the scaffolding. It's the scene setup, the stage. And we can use Chronos for planning and then consciously release into Kairos for that creativity, pleasure, and intuition. Because when we surrender into Kairos, the multidimensional portal unveils itself. Kairos is where linear time collapses. Past, present, and future become fluid. In moments of deep pleasure, meditation, or creative flow, you enter into a Kairos state. And from a multidimensional perspective, Kairos is where timelines converge. It's where you can access your highest self, your deepest knowing, and the versions of you that already exist in alignment with your desires. And remember, on Quantumly Kinky, we call that version of you, that version that already exists in alignment with your desires, the expanded aspects of you, your multi-dimensional self. So there's this dance between Chronos and Kairos. We can't live purely in Kairos, just as we can't thrive exclusively in Chronos. The art is in their dance, knowing when to lean into the structure of Chronos and when to surrender fully to the timelessness of Kairos. When you access Kairos, you tap into that space where the infinite timelines exist. And the most expanded timeline is no longer something you chase. It's something you receive in the stillness of Kairos. Time, at its most erotic, is not something we dominate. It's something we dance with. When we trust the flow of Kairos, we are no longer fighting time. We are riding it, baby, reverse cowgirl style, letting it move us exactly where we are meant to go. So this week, in addition to eroticizing and stretching time with our presence and deep breaths, we will be reflecting on our relationship with Chronos and Kairos, asking ourselves questions like, where am I overly controlled by Chronos? Where do I allow myself to slip into Kairos? And how can I weave these two lovers together in my daily rituals? We're going to work together to set our intentions in Chronos and then surrender the outcomes in Kairos, allowing both to serve our highest timeline expression. Because time is not a taskmaster, nor is it an escape. It's an ally, it's a lover. Time is a mirror. And when we learn to dance with it, when we learn to seduce it, we are not controlled by the ticking clock, and we aren't solely existing in the technosphere, but rather, we are embracing the ancient divine intelligence of our time as our art. In next week's Sexy Sermon, we will see how this all comes together to sync us up with access to our multidimensional portal where life is fucking sexy, no matter what's happening. And remember, for more focused practice and play with me on our erotic time recalibration, tune in to Quantumly Kinky on Instagram, where each day we will go deeper into this week's message. And I'll even glimpse you into my cosmic hologram and how I'm personally applying what we talk about together. So my little kinksters, be playful, stay present, and allow time to become your most erotic companion this week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Quantumly Kinky with Veda. Stay turned on. Till next time.